Hello, everybody. So I was scrolling through the one of the channels that I was subscribed to for a little bit, by the name of Candy's World. If you're curious how I know about this person, it's because Captain Crunch 12 did link to their channel in, well, not the description of one of their videos, but on his community tab. They said we should help them grow, and I did hit her with a subscription because I don't know. I just wanted to help her out a bit, and I noticed this video recently. It was about depression, and yeah, this was literally in the thumbnail as well. I saw a Confederate flag picture being shown here in a not so positive context. If I mean by they're not showing it to condemn their actions, they're showing it. I'm just gonna say in support because I also did search through their channels to see if they had any other things like this, and yeah, at one point, several months back, they also had uh, well, a channel icon with the Confederate flag being shown there. This video is, I'm not necessarily making this as a direct call out. I would just like to say, just in case, if for some reason Tandy doesn't know about what the Confederates are, or what the Confederates did back in those days and what they still continue to do now for the people who support them, I'm going to link a Google document in the description of this video, which is linked several articles detailing the Confederacy, the Confederate States of America. Well, those could be intertwined, but also the Revolutionary War or the Civil War, and Robert E. Lee, who was a Confederate general. And I'm also going to give a basic rundown of why you should not show the Confederate flag like this. Now, when I say you shouldn't show it, I'm not saying you can't show it, because it's a free country. Yes, you can technically use it, however, I'm saying that you should not, because of what the Confederacy stands for. Curious about what the Confederates did, if you are not aware, they seceded from the United States and the Union to form their own country. And what it was over was about states' rights, which, if you do not know what states' rights means, it basically, the concept of states' rights is that freedom should be left up to the opinions of the locals. That's a very simple way of describing it. However, the other thing that is really a big no-no thing, again, to put it lightly, about the Confederacy, is that they were pro-slavery. And the reason why they seceded from the Union to form the Confederate States of America and waged war with the Union was so they can keep slaves. Crap, the Confederate Constitution is very similar to the United States Constitution, but they changed very key details, such as saying that they will keep their slaves, and again, it's a pro-slavery document. And again, the reason why the Confederacy is so terrible is not only do they want to keep human beings, especially African Americans, as slaves, but they stabbed America and the Union in the back. And no, they were not doing this as like self-defense or anything. They shot first. They murdered several American soldiers. And again, the flag that they use stands for, it's not good to show this flag. And I would also like to dedicate this part of the video to explaining Robert E. Lee, who was one of the Confederate generals, those who led the Confederacy. Now, the thing about Robert E. Lee was he was given the opportunity to lead the Union, but instead he decided to side with his home state of Virginia, I believe that is what it was, and led, well, the Confederacy, the traitors. And some of the things that he did, some of the things that he's very famous for, are leading an army to murder and stop a slave uprising that was being led by John Brown. And another thing he did was, I believe he had a home where he housed several slaves, and when they tried to escape, he had his soldiers, or he himself did it, I don't know the exact details, but he would lead his soldiers to go recapture the slaves, and when they got the slaves back to the plantations, he told the warden, I believe, to lay it on thick, which basically means beat the fuck out of them so they don't run away again. Yeah, basically the point that I'm getting at is, Candy, I'm really hoping... Now, again, this is the reason why it's not a complete direct call-out. It's because I'm going to give Candy the benefit of the doubt and say that she maybe doesn't know exactly what the Confederacy did, and was probably may have fallen victim to propaganda, because for the longest time, they basically won the textbook war. They have been trying to erase the history and reshape history to make it look like the Confederacy was in the right, saying that this was just about states' rights and whatnot, which I also have an article linked about that there too. But no, the Confederates, they were pro-slavery. They, again, stabbed, the founding principles of America in the back, just took a big fat piss all over it. And I'm going to end this video off with some clips from a debate on the Confederate flag, on if it should be flown, from Christopher Justice, and he explains it very well.
You do have a right to fly it. I do not think it should be flown on public property, like in front of a state house. You can also fly it at protests. But he mentioned misconceptions. There are no misconceptions about that flag. The flag that we see today is not actually the Confederate flag. The Confederate flag is similar to that of the United States. It has a blue upper right-hand corner with 7 stars in a circle, 2 red stripes, and in the middle a white stripe. The flag we see today is an interpretation of a Confederate battle flag. And the interpretation went up in the 1960s, around the time the Civil Rights Movement started. And to the point where it's not racially motivated. Then how come it's a symbol for so many groups like the KKK and the National Socialist Movement, who, as you all probably know, have white supremacist and neo-Nazi ideologies? Also, I find it ironic that people claim to be patriots when they fly that flag. The Confederates stabbed the Union in the back. They shot first, they murdered 500,000 American soldiers, and they argued that it was because of states' rights. I ask, states' rights to do what? What were we considering getting rid of at the time? Not guns, we weren't trying to raise taxes, it was slavery. We were trying to stop the expansion of slavery to the West. The Southern aristocracy panicked and left the Union. They said, we are not Americans, we are from the South, so we're starting our own country. And then they proceeded to launch numerous terrorist attacks against the Union, shooting at Fort Sumter, murdering 200 people in Lawrence, Kansas. Okay. Yes. Before the United States was what it is today, that did represent slavery and women not having the right to vote. But the thing is, we evolved. The United States has evolved over the years. Our founding fathers made it so we could change. When the Union was trying to change the way slaves were treated, the Confederacy, as I said, stabbed us in the back and murdered 500,000 people. And to your argument that the Confederate flag didn't start out as racist, I disagree. Here is a direct quote from the Confederate Constitution. Other than this one bit, it is exactly the same as that of the United States. Quote, no bill or attainder ex post facto law or law denying or impairing the right of property in Negro slaves shall be passed. So it says, no matter what, we will keep our slaves. If the Confederates really were fighting for states' rights and were trying to preserve the United States, then why is this the one thing that they changed? If this wasn't key to the Civil War, why is this the one thing that they actually changed?